the Culinary Arts Center. I am very pleased that our guest chefs are back again. This is Shanna and Brian. And who was with us for, it seems so long ago, Chicken of the Sea. Hi, all right, everyone's back, so you did well. So what are we making today?
Today we are making an Alsatian Tart.
Alsatian Tart.
Yes, so
okay.
again,
It's essentially sort of the French version, I would say, of a pizza. You know, except it's more of a pastry dough crust, but sort of you can, endless combinations.
All right, excellent.
Play with your own toppings, kind of, once you get the bases down, you can take it from there.
So you guys will show us the basics.
Yes.
All right, well, why don't we get started?
All right, the first thing we're going to start with today, because we've got a lot of things pre-prepped, we're just going to start with melting our onions. We're saying melting because we're not going to saute them. We're using no oil. And I like that because, again, it's almost making like an onion stock as you're putting them in the pan. You just kind of, as they start to brown the bottom of the pan, we're just going to hit it with a little bit of water and bring up all those flavors.
All right.
So we're going to use a little bit of white and red onion.
Okay.
All right. And again, you just want to kind of go as thin as possible. Just that'll quicken up the cooking time.
I notice you're not sticking out your tongue like Fred does.
I'm not sticking
Nice. See, I knew it was a trick. Oh, man. Now, is this something that you serve at your inn?
We'll run it as specials.
Yep.
Again, depending on, like we said, it's a great thing to use for toppings.
Okay.
So if you have extra ingredients, figs or grapes or any of that type of stuff, you can just kind of make the base. And so again, we got the nice sizzle going on there. We're just going to leave that there, and it's slowly going to just kind of melt down. And the more that it starts sticking to the pan, we'll just hit it with a little bit of water, and they'll start to brown naturally.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so while that's happening, I'm going to start us on the pastry dough. In your recipe, it says you can either use puff pastry. That's a very long, time-consuming process. A lot of people buy it now frozen, which there's very good products out there, because that normally takes about 5 hours because you have to let the dough rest and it folds and you're rolling it. So this is my alternative dough when I don't have time to do this, and this you can use, again, as savory, as sweet. Either way will work. So the easiest... or I think the best way to make pie doughs is just, have a clean counter. And you're going to put your sifted flour, and you just want to make sort of a circle right in the center. This is going to be called the well method. And we're going to add our sugar. And again, the sugar you don't have to add if you didn't want to. It's going to give it a little balance out the sweetness that we're having with some of the smokiness on this tart. This in the center, we're going to put our eggs. And then soft butter. Actually, I'm going to mix up the eggs a little bit with my hand here. And that's going to dissolve the...
And this is called the well method?
Yes. Oh. So we're making it sort of in the center here. It's containing everything.
So you don't end up with eggs on your kitchen floor.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
And then soft butter, room temperature. I usually leave this out the night before. Again, if you forgot to do this, you could certainly put it in the microwave, but you just would want to put that at 50% power so that it doesn't. You don't want it melted. You definitely want it soft, but not melted. And you don't want it cold. So again, you're just going to kind of make a paste with your one hand.
That looked like a lot more than 10 ounces of butter, was it?
No, it is 10 ounces.
10 ounces. Okay.
I'm thinking 10 ounces.
Yeah, I was going to say a pound of butter is 16, so it was, just a little bit from, if you're thinking of that big block there. What's that? 6, exactly. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, if you're thinking in tablespoons.
Right. Now it is a a French dough. It is rich with its butter, so it makes it taste good. It makes it flaky. So this is what we're trying to do here. Just sort of get it a little bit mushed in. And then what we'll start to do is incorporate the flour. And we just kind of want to sort of lightly
kind of press it in there a little bit.
Toss that in there. I say this like you want to crumble it. We were doing a cooking demo the other day, or a hands-on teaching class, and we did the biscuits. And the woman who was helping me, I can see her there, we was doing the same thing, where we just wanted to make these little small small piece. Now that was a different dough where you wanted the butter really cold. So with pastries, you definitely want to follow those recipes. There's sort of reasons behind all of it. It's not we're cooking where you can have some freedom. This is stuff you want to pretty much stay close to it. The only difference is sometimes your moisture content, which is why I have a little bit of water here in case I'm going to need that. Because sometimes with the humidity or the temperature in your kitchen, that's what can change things. So that's the only piece that you kind of want to, you start to get to know your doughs and really feel them.
I think it's all those fearful things that make people buy the dough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This
It's
is
all
true.
those things that are like, I'm going to get that little canister that I can just kind of pop open. Yeah, so don't be afraid.
Exactly. So you can see it's all, the butter's all starting to cut through here. And again, you probably could definitely do this in a Cuisinart. I think I'm old school and like the hands-on approach.
Yeah, you get the right texture there and kind of feel for the consistency.
Exactly.
So you're just slowly adding your water over here
Slowly
to
adding,
the...
and that's just picking up that base. It's like the caramelization of the onion, so it's just bringing out the sugars and just kind of, now you can start to see the coloring of the onion starting to happen. And
Okay.
again, no oil. There's enough butter and fat in the rest of this dish. So
Yeah, there's
we can
plenty
keep
of
one
butter over
thing.
there.
We can keep one thing healthy
Yeah,
on this
let's
dish.
try and not, have everyone keel over from clogged
Yeah.
arteries.
So I'm feeling this, and I think it's going to need just a touch of water to bring this together. So as you can see, I've got things pretty well crumbled throughout. Just going to adjust a bit there. And then this is when you want to form your dough. We're going to put it all together.
Put that together. So this is something that you make as like a special add-on to your menu. So at your inn, are you constantly changing up your menu and your recipes that
We
you're
always
doing?
do seasonal.
Seasonal.
Maine is kind of cold, so it seems like there's only 3 seasons.
Oh.
So we kind of do a seasonal, and then of course we do nightly specials depending
I
on,
see.
obviously it's a big seafood-driven area, so lots of seafood, and we got the local farmers markets up there, so kind of go out, shop, see what they've got, and
Okay.
it's kind of fun.
Kind of go from there. Yeah, that's probably the beauty of being in charge. You can
Exactly.
do whatever you want. Unlike here on board, I know Fred back there in the corner. They have to. They're always hiding. On board here, they have to follow the recipes so that there's a
gonna
lot
let
of
that rest?
consistency.
What's that?
Are you gonna let that rest?
Follow the
Big
recipe
bowl
when he's
if
in
you
the
want.
galley, not when he's here. That's when he goes crazy.
Okay, so
Absolutely.
this is basically coming together really well. I'm going to typically, after this, I would let it rest for about an hour in the refrigerator. And then, or you could definitely make this the day before or 2 days before. You can make this and freeze this dough. This dough is pretty forgiving. So we're just going to, I think, let it chill for just a few minutes, and Brian's going to...
Okay.
One of the other toppings we're going to put on our tart today is figs. Figs, I don't know if everyone's familiar with them. They can have like a nice little sweetness to them. Really natural. There's different types. You have green figs, black mission figs. You can get them canned, jarred. If you're not a fig fan, you could definitely use dates. You could do like even just blistered grapes or any. You kind of just want a little something that's got that natural juice and brings out some sweetness.
to it. Okay.
So we've got our figs.
What do you mean by blistered?
Blistered grapes is all I do is I just take a little bit of oil and I put grapes on like I have a pan heating up in the oven, and then I just put a little bit of oil in that, and then you just pop them in there, and the heat will blister them. So they'll kind of whole.
whole grape.
Fred had that really cool torch out the other day. A lot of times a quick way to do it is you just lay them out on a sheet tray, take the torch, and you just hit them, and you'll see the skin start to blister up.
Okay.
And we do it a lot with cherry tomatoes, the teardrop tomatoes. If you just want a quick cook on them, you just put them on a sheet tray, hit them with that torch, and it just blisters up the skin a little bit.
Okay.
So it gives it that nice.
But then it's still kind of firm on the inside.
Exactly.
But it has that. Okay.
all right, so.
Good.
Got my big glove.
Your elf glove here. All right. So you've just had a pan heating up here?
Just a nice hot pan. We're going to just do a little bit of oil so the figs won't stick. Nice sizzle.
Now, is there a reason you put the pan in the oven rather than on
Just
the
so it's a quick,
burner here?
because we're going to put the figs right back in.
Oh, okay. I see.
A little bit of pepper.
Yeah. Now, are these particular figs, do you know if these are jarred figs?
These are jarred. Yeah.
Jarred figs.
So there's a little bit of sweetness in here, so we're going to pull back a little bit on the port because when the port reduces, it'll get sweeter.
Yeah, figs can be very expensive, and you definitely want to buy them in season because they don't have a long shelf life. So this is a great alternative.
Oh.
And we're just going to pop these right back in the oven.
Okay.
And that's going to probably be in there about 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so while we're waiting for those to cook, I'm going to work on the Mornay sauce. Mornay sauce is basically a bechamel, but with onions, and we're going to add cheese at the end to it. Bechamel is one of your mother sauces when you're learning French culinary techniques. So we're just going to start the pan off with some warm heat, and then I'm going to add the butter.
A little more butter.
Yes. You can
We're still using water over here. So.
Oh, yeah. He's still got the water. She's got the butter.
And then I'm going to grab some minced up onions. So essentially what we're going to do is we're just going to saute off the onions in the butter, and then we're going to make a roux with that. And a roux is basically equal parts butter to flour. Okay? And what you're wanting it to look like at the end is sort of wet sand, I think is the best description I have for that.
I don't know if you've been watching the Julie and Julia that's been playing, but it's called a blonde roux because roux always have different shades. So the more you cook them, you'll almost get like a nutty smell off of them, and they'll like gumbos. If anyone's been to New Orleans, they use a really dark roux. So it's basically the same base of that, but you just cook out the flour more where it'll brown up. And
Yeah, we're not really looking for any color on this. We want it to be pretty much a white sauce.
Okay.
So I'm just going to get that to melt. Look at it. Those look great.
Yeah, those onions are basically set right there. They've got that nice caramel, natural sweetness to them.
Yeah, they smell great.
Yeah, so again, this is this is how we do our onions for our French onion soup and all that. We just kind of melt them down, then we'll start to fold in the stock and the rest. But I just kind of like the natural flavors. We do a lot of onion jams and things like that. So I don't. I do it a little bit different. So, but I usually just like to melt my onions, and then I just, instead of using water, I'd be using the stock and folding it in, and then just finally at the end put the stock, a little bit of season, a little bit of sherry. I call it a day.
So the butter too, always use unsalted butter. I always feel like you can add salt later. If you are using salted butter, then you just want to pull back on the seasoning.
Okay.
So we're getting those to just basically get to like the translucent state of the onions and getting all that butter to melt. Just looking perfect right now. And then we're going to add in the flour.
This is a pretty important stage too, because again, when you're making your gravies and everyone complains about the lumps, this is the stage that the lumps will form.
Okay.
So you really want to cook out that flour and kind of make sure it's all worked through.
This is the lumpy sauce stage.
Exactly.
You don't want lumps. This is where you need to pay attention. Okay.
So also when you're using a roux, another way what Brian was talking about to reduce lumps is if you have a hot roux, then you add cold liquid. If you've got hot liquid, you could add a cold roux. That pretty much is going to take away any risk of it getting lumpy for you.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So again, you could make this ahead of time, chill it down in the refrigerator, and then use it for your next application.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Excellent.
So we've got that looking pretty good. I'm going to add 2 cups of milk and 1 cup of heavy cream. And again, when you add this, you want to be whisking at the same time.
Again, avoiding the lumps.
Avoiding the lumps.
Yeah, you don't want the lumps.
Keep it moving. This is getting creamier and creamier.
Yes.
Butter, milk.
Now this is a good dish either as a starter or lunch paired with like a nice salad with some, a good acidic dressing to cut through it. It definitely is rich.
Mm. So paired with something a little bit lighter.
Yes.
And then 1 cup of heavy cream.
Excellent. Yeah. I actually have their arugula salad recipe on the back table as well. So if you didn't grab one of those on your way in, I made some extras.
Yep.
So you can grab that on your way out.
Yeah, nutmeg is a classic addition to bechamel sauces or croquettes. It just really pulls out the flavor, and Brian's actually got one that we picked up in Grenada.
Oh, nice. nice.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the fresh nutmeg like that with the seed, grating it, is you get so much more flavor than the powdered
Cream,
stuff.
cream
And
spinach,
it'll last you
cream
forever.
corn, any of those basic French. It's anything with cream. Nutmeg goes well with.
Were you professionally impressed with all the spices in Grenada?
We were.
Yeah.
We were.
Yeah. And then what island was that where we walked the other day with the market, the floating market?
Oh, that was the Curacao.
Curacao. That market was pretty cool. That was.
You'll go home with a bag full of spices.
Seeing the boats just pulling in with the fish on it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So again, I'm seasoning as we're going here. I've got a little bit of white pepper, a little bit of salt, because this is just milk and cream, and a little bit of the onions. So you do want to add that seasoning and check that throughout. This essentially is we just want to keep cooking it until it comes to a boil, and that's going to thicken it, and that's going to give our cream sauce, our base for the tart.
Okay.
So the roux is basically, this is basically an Alfredo, but the roux replaces the Parmesan cheese.
Oh, I see.
Exactly.
Okay.
Or you could use the same as a base for macaroni and cheese as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Your grater, what kind of grater do you use?
This is a microplane.
From the hardware store, right?
You can get this in any Williams-Sonoma or specialty, but they all have different grades of the
Coarseness. Okay.
This one is it's a multi-use one, so this is our traveling one because you can do, but they have really fine ones that's great for the nutmeg, and then the thicker ones, they'll have thicker ones better for shaving cheese and stuff like that.
So Brian, I'm gonna have him. You can start to feel that starting to thicken up. You
I'll continue.
Continue that, and then I'll grab the dough. Oops. Done.
And again, you kind of constantly want it stirring because again, milk and cream will scald on the bottom. So, and especially with that flour, it will eventually, if you walk away from it, it will settle.
I
and,
see.
and
Okay.
burn. So
you got to keep it moving.
I've got the fun job of stirring.
There you go. That was great timing. Have him step in. I see how this marriage works a little bit here.
I did not. No, this is far bigger than what I like to use. I like the wooden ones that are just these handles.
I don't think there's a plane out there that would let us on.
I know. I don't think TSA would let you through with that guy.
Okay, so when you're rolling your dough, you always want to get a nice floured surface. This is sort of a technique you learn as you go in pastries, is just sort of getting this nice thin coating,
Kind of
so nothing's going
flick it to the side a little
exactly.
bit there.
Flick of the
All
wrist.
right.
And that's probably good.
So that was the dough that we'd want to keep refrigerated for about an hour.
This is going to be a little bit on the soft side right now, so I'm going to try to work quickly. And with this big mammoth.
But it's not as heavy as it looks, right?
No, it's not heavy, but it's just
It just looks like you could really do some damage.
Exactly. See, I like to go like this. I'm not big on the handles. So what I'm looking for is basically a rectangle shape.
Now, how thick are you trying to roll this?
Probably like 1/4 of an inch.
Okay.
We want it pretty thin. And if you're using puff pastry, this dough doesn't rise as much as puff pastry. When you're using puff pastry, it's real important that you end up docking, which I will do that with this dough, the dough, and weighting it down, or else it'll puff up, which is great for other applications, but not what we're doing today. So that's looking pretty good. Now here's a trick to move your dough, is you want to just sort of roll it up just like that. I'm not getting a far roll because it's so wide, but
Now again, you can. I don't know if the camera's up above me, but you can start to see that sauce.
Oh yeah, it's starting to
get that Alfredo style. It's enough to start to coat the back of a spoon. That's always a good test when you're making your sauces.
Okay.
Oh, we're out of power.
Oop, let me grab the button here a minute. Safety feature.
okay. So I don't know if you saw that, just the moving of the dough. Again, you just want to handle things as little as possible. It's going to make your life a lot easier. And then I'm just going to trim up the ends. I could have done that before I moved the dough, but either way is fine.
All right. Did you have the oven on 350?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
That'd be
Perfect.
great.
Just gonna check those real quick.
And then what you can do to make sort of finish the side is you want to just sort of roll and press.
Can you guys see that on there? Okay.
Is that underneath?
There you go. So roll.
Again, you don't have to do this. You could certainly just trim it and have it be flat size would look great. This is just, you know, it's more decorative.
Yeah.
And you don't, this dough is sticking to itself. You don't need to add any egg wash or anything. It's going to hold its shape. Yes. And then what you want to do is called docking it, which a fork works really well. Or we had, when we were doing all the big samples, they have a nice big roller with all its little prickly sides.
A lot of times you'll see that in the stores. They'll say there's like a pizza roller. There's like little prongs, and you just roll. It looks like a paintbrush or a paint roller, and it just.
Now, what's the purpose of?
Because we want this to be flat. We don't want it to be puffed up. We want the pastry. It's still going to feel really light and buttery and flaky, but we don't want it getting high.
Okay.
So that's what the docking does. Again, I would probably rest this for another hour. Doughs definitely like to rest. What happens when you cook things quickly is it's just going to shrink up. It's still going to taste great, but that would be, if you want to have the consistent size, you always want to let it rest between every movement you do.
Okay, in the refrigerator?
In the refrigerator, yes.
Okay.
So then what we'd want to do is have, again, if you're doing if you don't curl the sides up, you could just sandwich another pan on top of this with some parchment, and that's going to be a good enough weight. But if you wanted to do some of the decorative sides, what you can do is just put a piece of wax paper or parchment paper, and really anything that can weigh it down. I use rice a lot at the inn.
A lot of people use beans.
Exactly, beans.
Okay.
I mean, they sell pastry weights. You can even, though I've done this where I just put, something that's oven safe right on top, and all of that works fine.
Okay.
So you don't have to be running around getting everything. So this is going to go into the oven to bake.
All ready to go. Join our figs in there.
Yeah.
I'm going to take those figs out, and you can use that shelf
Okay.
if you want.
Yeah, that will work great. All right.
So you would just put rice right on top of there? Just like
Yeah, it ends up, don't use minute rice. I've done that before, and it's very light, doesn't work at all. It's terrible. But regular rice, it just turns brown, and you can have it forever. And a lot of people usually have, a bag of rice in your house. So
yeah,
that works.
keep
But
reusing
yeah, you
it.
just want to put it on the parchment so you can easily lift it off so it doesn't bake into your dough.
Yeah. That would be good. You have a nice thin layer of burnt rice in the top of your pastry dough.
Exactly.
All right.
Okay. How are the figs looking?
Looking good.
So I think we obviously did a sample of the dough ahead of time, so that's all baked. So again, you want it to be that golden brown. It's probably going to take in the oven, I'd say, 12 to 18 minutes. And again, you always want to rotate every oven. We were cooking the back and the samples, and I was working with the pastry chef back there, and he was showing me, because some of them looked beautifully done, then others weren't, and they all went at the same time. So I never say cook from beginning to end. Always in the middle, turn your pan, and cook it for another, whatever the time is you need.
half your time and kind of move it around. Okay. Yeah.
So we'll start assembling.
Sure.
All right.
Just because I don't have anything smaller. Goes with the rolling pin.
There we go. Getting some serious sauce here.
So again, you can have this so that when it's cold, and then it just goes on like a paste. That's how when we do it at the restaurant, we're getting everything done, so we're ready to fire things quickly. But you can also put it on warm. It's just gonna, expedite the process right now.
Okay.
And again, with the toppings too, any of the toppings you want to kind of just have it just under, because we are going to put this back in the oven, and it will be cooking up a little bit more.
Okay. Well, it looks like we got our samples already coming around. Thank you.
Good timing.
Guys can give it a try here. Now, is there any way to know like when our figs here are done? Like what's...
Again, they get kind of mushy.
They just get kind of mushy?
And then that port wine starts to develop a little bit of a syrup. Okay. And again, if you wanted that a little bit more, you could just put it on the stovetop and
if you wanted to reduce it a little bit more down.
But usually, the seeds will kind of blister out of it a little bit. And
okay. All right. So just putting our melted onions.
Exactly. Got the cheese.
Excuse me.
And again, we have just a little bit of prosciutto that we're gonna kind of just break up and put on top.
Layer that in there a little bit. That kind of gives it a little salty. Does anybody have any questions so far? Okay. Can you? Yeah. Excellent.
Just going to top it with a little bit of Gruyere cheese.
Gruyere. That.
Basically, like we
Absolutely.
said, it's like a pizza at this point. So once you get that base done, whatever you want to put on top, do you want to?
Okay.
That in? Sure.
And we're just going to make a little bit of a salad.
Okay.
Again, we had put down arugula salad would work well with it. But any type of salad would work. We have a little bit of microgreens here. These are actually called bull's blood. They just call it bull's blood just because of the color.
Color of it. Okay.
Not made from bulls, so.
It's not actually soaked in bull's blood.
Yeah.
So don't worry.
Then we have some parsley.
Parsley here. Okay. Yeah, so just something light to go with
Yeah.
it after all the
Yeah, I definitely
butter.
think that piece of acidity next to it is a great partner. And sometimes we do them where we put it right on top, so you get that nice cold salad and the warm tart. That's really great.
Excellent. All right.
A little chiffonade on that.
Well, I got our front row. How is it, front row? You're going to make everyone in the back, their mouths start to water as it as they come back.
And because that port wine has a little bit of sweetness, I'm just going to do a touch of balsamic in this.
Okay.
Just a little drizzle. And that'll help bring out that port wine. And once that comes out, we can just...
They smell nice. Get all nice and coated.
If she's melting yet.
Cheese is melted down there. So how many people want to head up to Maine now that they've tried?
Good. We love that.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a place for you to stay and eat at, so we would
Yeah.
love to see that. And if you do ever come visit, absolutely tell us that you met us on the ship. We like to know that, because we like to give extra special treatment to the people that we travel around with. It's fun.
Excellent.
What's that?
What's that, Fred? Oh, reduction on the price.
Well, maybe some little gifts in your room.
Oh my.
That's
great.
probably done.
That's
Just
good.
melted enough,
Okay.
yeah.
Excellent.
Big gloves.
Those look like an infomercial product.
Right?
All right.
Perfect. All right.
It's delicious.
Yeah, because the dough's pretty flaky, that's probably the hardest thing is just getting it off
Transferring it over.
the plate.
Just
All right. Oh, and then you put the little bit of salad right on top there. Ooh, this looks great. Great colors.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I think it's a great appetizer because again, it is rich. So eating a whole one yourself.
yeah, and you can
Might be
just
a little-
at this point you can
Might be a little
just
much.
quickly slice it down and
Exactly.
Pound of butter, yeah.
But look, I have all this dough left, so it's just a very small amount.
You're not eating a pound of butter.
I'm a big believer in balance. I love food. I love good flavors, but so you just gotta eat just a little bit so you get all that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes that much, then can you freeze that?
Absolutely. And this would be great. It's a great pie dough. You can quiche. Anything you can use this with, and it freezes wonderfully. You just want to pull it out probably the day before, or just let it out on the counter. But no, it's a. I wanted to share that dough with you because it's easy, it's forgiving. Because like Brian said, it's very pie doughs can be intimidating.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Those little tartlets that they've been serving on the ship they had like the little mini quiches. That's the basic
Exactly.
dough to those. So
Yeah.
you can put those in the muffin pans and just again dock the bottom of them with the fork, and then you have little individual cups, and
Oh.
so it's a very versatile dough once you get the base of it down.
Basics down. Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, this looks beautiful. How about a round of
Good.
applause? Nice. I see
question?
one.
That's a great suggestion. Yes, that way then you can pull out what you need, and then that way you don't have to keep taking it out and then refreezing it because that's never a great idea.
Yes, portion it out a little bit. Did anybody
Yeah.
else have any other questions? Oh, right here.
Well, you know, like the muffin tins, like even like the mini cupcake tins and stuff like that. You can form it around, and then you just take the fork and you pop the hole in it, and you can also take like wax paper and put the rice into each, just to weigh it down.
Down a little bit.
And
Yeah,
then
you
they become like little individual cups.
So
Yeah, if you put it.
No, you would put the dough in raw into the muffin tin, and then like maybe some wax paper with the rice or the dried beans on the inside. Put it in the oven and bake it, and it will hold that muffin tin shape. And
So
then
yeah,
you can,
you would end up rolling out the dough flat, and then you could use like a cutter, like this, cut it into a disc, and then sandwich it into your muffin tin. And then even easier than doing the rice, because that's all little individually ones, you just put another muffin tin on top, and that would sandwich it in there. Yeah,
Yeah, I
and that's
like
a
that.
great, past hors d'oeuvre. Yeah, and you could still fill it with the Mornay sauce, do a little fig, and it would all,
little
again.
individual.
goat
right.
cheese. I mean, at that point,
Absolutely, yeah.
Perfect. Yes, right up here.
a measurement of a
Of the
cup,
cup.
is
It's 8 ounces.
Yeah,
Is grams.
grams. Oh, I have my conversion on my iPhone.
So you fill it 500 milliliters.
Oh, wow, perfect.
There we go. Yes.
100 milliliters. All right. Was there a question back there? Yes. Could you serve this cold as well as warm?
I mean, I think so. You might want to, with the cheese, maybe do a different option instead of putting that Gruyere cheese on. But absolutely, I think you could, you could even put like tomatoes and the fresh mozzarella and a little basil and make it more like that caprese sort of salad on it, and you get that crunch.
Yeah.
I love, the balance of texture and heat and cold and all of that. I think those make the best dishes.
Excellent. So one back there. What size serving would you, if you serve this for
I
lunch?
would probably. I like to eat, so that's my
Depends
lunch.
who you're asking.
But I would say at the restaurant we would probably cut that into 3.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of serving size.
that's a snack for me.
And what wine, Brian, would go well with this?
Yeah.
I would say a wine with this. This is kind of versatile. Because the pastrami, you can definitely go with a lighter red, like a claret. I would think white wine, because there is some sweetness in there. Maybe a Riesling. I know Rocca is on the ship. The Chateau Ste. Michelle Rocca. It's a really
Or that-
great Riesling. So
I think the conundrum they were
Yep.
offering the other day
Conundrum.
would be a great.
yeah.
Might cut through the fat a little bit.
All right, I think one more in the back, or 2 more. Okay, one more back there, and then one more up here. Yes. What's the name of your
The name of
inn?
the inn is the Kennebunk Inn, and the restaurant inside of the inn is called Academe.
Kennebunk
And
Inn.
we've got cards up here if you'd like this.
Yeah.
Interested.
Love it.
And then one more question up front.
Ah.
Yeah, who's at the inn right now?
We are very fortunate to have a great staff. Most of our staff has been with us. We've been there 9 years. Most of the staff has been with us at least 7.5 years.
Wow.
So we're very fortunate in that way. We're looking at the staff here on Hal American, and just the way people just know they do their jobs and they care about the ship. It's very similar to what we've got back at home. So it makes it a pretty cool experience.
Excellent. You must be good bosses. Yeah,
I think
exactly.
we're the best, but
They stay for 7.5 years. That's pretty
me.
good. Not bad. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Have another round of applause for Shanna and Brian here and their beautiful tart. Excellent. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you do have any more questions, feel free to come down, or if you'd like to get a picture of this, I do have some extra recipe cards and some additional recipes on the back table. And enjoy the rest of your day here on
Thank you.
Maasdam. Thank you.